I always thought heartbreak was quiet, that when your world fell apart, it would do so gently, like autumn leaves drifting from trees. But I was wrong. Heartbreak is loud. It echoes in the silence that follows a shattered promise. It burns under the weight of 1,000 eyes watching, judging. And for me, it happened on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. I was standing there at the altar, dressed in the suit she picked out, the one she said made me look like someone from a movie. The church smelled of roses and vanilla, Emily's favorites. Sunlight poured through the stained glass windows, casting colored shadows over the white aisle. Everything was perfect, except she wasn't there. Not yet. At first, I thought maybe she needed a moment. Nerves. Cold feet. It happened, right? So I smiled, awkwardly, waiting as the music played a little longer than planned. People started whispering, first in curiosity, then in concern. I felt like static in the air. Minutes passed, then more. A bridesmaid rushed out, then the maid of honor, then her mother. Still no Emily. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear anything else. I stared down the aisle, still holding on to hope like it was oxygen. I kept expecting to see her turn the corner, smiling through tears, running toward me like in one of those cheesy rom-coms we used to laugh about. But she never came. Instead, her father walked down the aisle alone. His face was pale, his lips trembling. And I knew, before he said a single word, I knew. She's gone, Ryan. He said quietly, too quietly. She left. The room spun. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't understand. What do you mean she left? Left where? Why? I looked out at the guests, faces I'd known for years. My best man, her cousins, my little sister, who had spent all night writing her speech. And they were all staring at me like I was part of a car crash they couldn't look away from. I was humiliated. I was heartbroken. I was alone. Flashback. We met in college, sophomore year. She bumped into me at the library, spilled coffee on my notes, and offered to rewrite the whole thing. I didn't even care about the coffee. I just wanted to talk to her again. We grew up in the same town, 2 blocks apart, and somehow never met until that day. We called it fate. She said I was her accidental destiny. We carved our initials into a tree by the lake, made stupid promises, talked about kids and houses and a dog named Waffles. She used to call me Sunshine, even on my worst days. And now she had disappeared like a ghost, leaving only shadows behind. Back in the present, I don't remember how long I stood there. Long enough for the whispers to grow into murmurs. Long enough for the pain to sink deep enough to scar. I remember walking out, slowly, mechanically, the same way someone walks away from a wreck they somehow survived. Only I didn't feel like I survived anything. Outside the church, the sky was too bright, the world too normal, as if nothing had happened. I wanted to scream. I wanted answers. I wanted to believe it was all just some twisted prank, and that Emily would come running up to me, laughing, apologizing, explaining. But deep down I knew something had broken, and it wasn't just a wedding. It was me. I didn't go back inside. I couldn't face them. The questions, the pity, the rumors already being typed into group chats and whispered behind painted nails. Instead, I got in my car and drove. No destination. Just away from the church, away from a memory of her smile, away from a version of my life that had just been erased. I don't remember the drive, just the silence, and the one question looping through my head like a broken record. Why did she leave me? I still remember the sound of her laughter echoing through my kitchen just a week ago. She made fun of the way I cut strawberries, too thick, too messy. She called it chaotic fruit energy. And now, silence. Emily's gone, vanished. No note, no goodbye, not even a text. At first, I thought maybe she was mad. Maybe I said something stupid again, or forgot a small detail that meant the world to her. But when I showed up at her apartment, heart pounding like it might break through my chest, her place was empty. Not messy, not mid-move. Empty. The furniture? Gone. The curtain she insisted we hang together last spring? Gone. Even the little ceramic dog I won for her at the fair, missing from the shelf where it always sat. It was like she'd never lived there at all. Like our love story had been scrubbed clean. I asked the landlord what happened. He gave me this blank look, shrugged, and said she moved out a few days ago, left the keys in the mailbox. No forwarding address. No clue. Just gone. I stood there on the threshold, staring into a hollow shell of what once felt like home. I kept waiting to wake up. I kept hearing her voice in my head, laughing, teasing, whispering late-night dreams into the dark. I stood there until the building manager asked me to leave, said I looked like a ghost haunting someone else's life. Maybe he was right. The days after blurred into each other. I stopped going to work. I stopped shaving. Hell, I barely ate. Every night, I stared at my phone, willing it to light up, willing her name to appear. But nothing came. Just silence. I even tried calling her friends. Most didn't pick up. The few who did seemed confused or scared to say anything. One girl named Megan just muttered, "I thought you knew," before hanging up. Knew what? That I wasn't enough? That all the late-night promises and whispered forevers were just pretend? I scrolled through our photos, hundreds of them, smiling at beaches, holding hands at dive bars, even that ridiculous photo booth strip where I wore a clown nose just to make her laugh. Was it all a lie? Did she ever love me? It was my mom who finally pulled me out of the dark, even if it was just for a moment. She came over uninvited, as mothers do, took one look at the mess I'd become, and said nothing, just hugged me. And for the first time in days, I cried. The kind of cry that shakes your soul. The kind that feels like you're bleeding grief straight out of your lungs. Later, when she sat me down with a hot cup of coffee I didn't ask for, she said something I can't stop replaying. "Ryan, maybe she was hiding something. Maybe this wasn't about you." I looked at her, hollowed out, and asked, "Like what?" She hesitated, picked at the edge of her mug. "I don't know," she said softly. "But people don't just disappear for no reason. Maybe she found out something that scared her." That thought hit me like a cold slap, because I had noticed it. Little moments when she pulled away, conversations she avoided, nights where she stared at the ceiling, thinking too hard. Was there a secret? Something she was never ready to tell me? And if so, what the hell could have been so big that she'd choose disappearing over telling me the truth? That night, I sat in my darkroom, phone in hand, staring at our last conversation. Her final text? "I love you. Always." And now, nothing. But something inside me shifted. Maybe I didn't know everything about Emily. Maybe love wasn't the whole story. And maybe, just maybe, it's time I find out what she was running from. For years. That's how long it's been since everything I knew, everything I trusted, collapsed under me like a rotting floorboard. In 4 years. You'd think the pain would dull fade, turn into some distant echo that only rings in the quiet. But no. Some days, it still hits me like it happened yesterday. The memory of her, the way she said my name, the way her hand used to fit in mine, the way her eyes used to hold so much, and then, suddenly, nothing at all. I guess time doesn't heal everything. It just teaches you how to hide the limp. Now I wake up early. I hit the gym, drink my protein shake, and bury myself in work at the marketing firm I helped build from the ground up. I've made good money, moved into a decent apartment downtown, and bought a new car. On paper, it looks like I'm doing great. But the truth is, I sleep on only one side of the bed. I never hang anything on the wall, because no place has felt like home since she left. And the only time my phone rings is when it's work-related or my mom asking if I've met someone yet. I haven't. I've gone on a few dates. Nice girls. Smart. Kind. Beautiful, even. But every time things get remotely serious, something inside me shuts down like a store closing early. I don't trust easily anymore. Worse, I don't trust myself. I question everything. My judgment, my instincts, my heart, because I let someone in once, and she left a crater I'm still climbing out of. So instead of late-night texts or weekend getaways, I fill my time with noise, projects, meetings, deadlines. And 2 nights a week, I volunteer at the South Hill Community Center. At first, it was just something to do, a distraction, but over time, it became a place where the silence didn't swallow me whole. Kids running around, seniors playing bingo, single moms juggling toddlers while trying to take night classes. It's chaotic, loud, messy, but it's real. And for some reason, real feels safe. On Tuesdays, I help with job interview prep for underprivileged teens. Thursdays, I serve food in the evening kitchen. They call me Mr. Ryan, which makes me feel older than I am. But it's the kind of nickname that warms you instead of weighing you down. There's this boy, Eli, 15 years old, smart as hell, but angry at the world. Reminds me a little of myself at that age. He never smiles, but he always shows up. Last week, he asked why I come back every week. I told him the truth. Because sometimes helping someone else is the only way to feel like you still matter. He didn't say anything, but I swear, for a split second, he understood. The community center isn't a fix. It doesn't fill the void. But it gives me something that feels like purpose. It keeps my hands busy and my mind from wandering too far into the past. Still, when I walk home after my shift, the city feels quiet in all the wrong ways. The streetlights blink, the crosswalks beep, and I find myself reaching for my phone before remembering there's no one to text goodnight. I thought maybe I'd be further along by now. That 4 years would be enough. But grief doesn't come with an expiration date. And the scar she left me with, it's still pink around the edges. Yet somehow, in the middle of all this emptiness, I feel something shifting, like the air before a storm. A whisper in the back of my mind that something is coming. I just don't know what. Or who. I wasn't planning to stay long at the community center that day. I had dropped off a few boxes for the charity drive, waved politely to the volunteers, and was about to head out when I heard laughter, soft, high-pitched, and so familiar it nearly knocked the air out of my lungs. I turned, and that's when I saw her. A little girl, no older than 4, sitting cross-legged on the floor with a puzzle scattered in front of her. Her hair was chestnut brown and slightly messy, and her cheeks were flushed from play. But it wasn't her giggle or her tiny frame that stopped me in my tracks. It was her eyes. Those eyes, wide, gray-blue like the sky just before a storm. The same exact shade I used to lose myself in when I held Emily close at night. The same eyes I saw every time I closed mine. I stood frozen, staring, trying to breathe. She looked up, and when our eyes met, it felt like the world skipped a beat. I swear to God, something shifted inside me, like my heart recognized her before my brain could catch up. "Hi," she said, tilting her head, curious and unafraid. "Hi," I echoed, my voice hoarse. "What's your name?" "Lily," she smiled, a dimple flashing in her left cheek. Another haunting resemblance. "What's yours?" I knelt down slowly, still stunned. "I'm Ryan." Without warning, she stood up and walked right over, placing her tiny hand in mine. "I like you, Ryan." I felt a lump rise in my throat. She didn't know me, but something about her, something about us felt immediate, natural, like we were supposed to find each other. She led me to the puzzle and plopped back down, patting the space beside her. And so I sat. We worked in silence, her humming a little song as I tried to keep my hands from shaking. I wanted to ask her more. I wanted to ask everything, but I didn't even know where to start. She handed me a puzzle piece with a grin. "You're really quiet. I guess I'm just surprised to meet you." She giggled again. "You're funny." And then it happened. She turned her head suddenly, eyes lighting up. "Mommy's here." I barely had time to register what she said before the door opened, and in walked Emily. My chest caved in. She looked older, not in a bad way, just more grown, more guarded. She had the same sharp gray she always carried, the same quiet beauty, but there was something else now, too, a weight behind her eyes, a story I hadn't been part of, and she was holding Lily's hand. Emily's gaze swept the room, pausing the moment she saw me. Her smile faltered. Our eyes locked, and for a heartbeat, everything else blurred. The sounds, the people, the walls, gone. Just me, Just her. And Lily. Emily's hand instinctively tightened around her daughter's. Lily turned to her and pointed excitedly. "Mommy, this is Ryan. He helped me with the puzzle." Emily didn't speak right away. Her lips parted like she wanted to say something, but the words got stuck somewhere between shock and panic. I stood slowly, heart pounding so hard I could feel in my ears. "Emily," I breathed, barely more than a whisper. Her expression shifted. It was subtle, but I saw it. The flicker of something behind her eyes. Surprise. Fear. Maybe even guilt. And then, just like that, she looked away. "I didn't expect to see you here," she said, her voice cool, too even. "I didn't expect." I looked down at Lily, who was now happily playing with the hem of her mom's coat. "This..." Emily didn't answer. I didn't need her to, because in that moment, standing a few feet away from the only woman I'd ever loved, and the little girl who looked just like her, one truth was screaming in my head louder than anything else. Lily was mine. She had to be. But Emily, she'd never told me. Not a word. Not a clue. And now here we were, face to face again, standing on a minefield of secrets that hadn't even begun to explode. I froze. The world around me, the chatter, the clinking silverware, the soft hum of music in the restaurant, blurred into static. All I could hear was the thudding of my own heart in my ears. Because there she was, Emily, the woman who vanished from my life 5 years ago like a ghost in the night. And she wasn't alone. A little girl stood beside her, no older than 4, with dark brown curls and eyes that looked exactly like mine. For a second, everything inside me shattered and reformed all at once. "Emily?" I called out, but my voice cracked halfway through her name. She turned. Her eyes widened as if she'd seen a ghost too. Then she did the unthinkable. She grabbed the little girl's hand, Lily, I would later learn, and bolted for the door. "Wait!" I shouted, stumbling over chairs and nearly knocking into a waiter. "Emily, stop!" But she didn't. She didn't even look back. By the time I got outside, they were gone. Just like that. Again, I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my couch, staring at the ceiling, the image of that little girl haunting my thoughts. The way she clung to Emily's hand. The way she looked up at me. Confused, almost like something inside her knew. There was no doubt in my mind. That was my daughter. And Emily had hidden her from me all these years. I felt like I was suffocating under the weight of questions that had no answers. Why would she leave without a word? Why would she lie to me? What could possibly make her think I didn't deserve to know my own child? I kept hearing the words over and over again in my head. "You lied to me. You lied to me. You lied to me." The next morning, I started digging. I hadn't heard from Emily in over 5 years. No phone calls. No letters. Nothing. And now I knew why. She didn't want to be found. But I wasn't giving up this time. I went back to the restaurant, talked to the hostess, showed her a picture I still had of Emily. The woman hesitated, then pointed me to the reservation book. The name was under Emily Carter, a name I didn't recognize. But the handwriting? Definitely hers. That was my first clue. The next few days were a blur of late nights and online searches. I combed through social media, real estate listings, school directories, anywhere I thought she might have left a trail. And then finally, I found her. A preschool Facebook post tagged her. "Ms. Emily, our kid's favorite storytime mom." The profile picture was grainy, but it was her. No doubt, she was living just 3 towns over. I sat there staring at the screen, my heart pounding like a drum. Emily Carter. New name. New life. And me? Not even a memory in that picture-perfect world she built. I should have been angry. And I was. Furious, actually. But underneath the rage was something else. A deep, gnawing ache. One I didn't know how to fix. How could she look me in the eye, after all these years, and still run? What was she hiding? The next day, I drove to her neighborhood. I didn't plan to confront her. Not yet. I just needed to see her. To see Lily again. I parked across the street and watched as they came out of the house. Emily had a tired look in her eyes. Lily wore a pink backpack, skipping down the steps like any normal kid on her way to preschool. She looked happy. That's what stopped me. Because despite everything, I couldn't bring myself to destroy the little world they had. Not yet. I needed the truth first. The whole truth. Because whatever her reasons were, Emily owed me that much. And I was done being left in the dark. I stared at her. She stood in front of me like a ghost dragged from the past. Messy hair, tired eyes, and the same trembling hands I used to hold when the world felt too loud. Ryan. Emily's voice cracked before the rest of her did. I didn't mean to disappear like that. My breath caught in my throat. The anger I'd carried for months, no, years, was a wildfire behind my ribs. You left the night before our wedding. I snapped. I waited at the altar, Emily. I waited for you. She nodded, eyes brimming. I know. I hate myself for that. My fists clench at my sides. Then why? Give me one reason. One that makes any of this okay. Emily took a shaky step forward, and for a second, I thought she might fall apart right there in front of me. But then she reached into her bag, pulled out a crumpled sonogram photo, and handed it to me. My heart stopped. I stared at the blurry black and white image, and the caption at the bottom, Baby W. 8 weeks. What is this? I found out I was pregnant a week before the wedding, she whispered. It was yours, Ryan. Ours. The world spun. Pregnant? We were going to have a child? I stumbled back, like the air had been sucked from my lungs. Why didn't you tell me? She swallowed hard. Because I wasn't the only one who found out. Emily looked away, jaw trembling. You remember Brandon? My ex. The name hit me like ice water. Brandon, the one who used to show up at her apartment unannounced. The one who left bruises she swore were from accidents. He came to my place the night I found out, she said, voice barely more than a whisper. I don't know how, but he knew. He told me that if I married you, if I didn't disappear, he'd kill you. Then me, and the baby. My stomach dropped. Emily? I believed him, Ryan. He was unhinged. I've seen him snap over less. I couldn't risk it. Not after that test came back positive. I couldn't think. Couldn't breathe. My mind flashed with what-ifs. What if she'd stayed? What if he had followed through? What if I'd never even known my child existed? So you ran. I said hollowly. No goodbye. No message. Just vanished. She nodded, her voice shaking. I thought I was protecting you. I thought if I left, he'd let you live your life. I moved 3 states away. Changed my number. My name. I didn't know what else to do. I sat down hard on the park bench behind me. The world was too loud, too slow, too much. My child. I had a child out there. Or maybe not. Did you have a baby? She looked down at her shoes. No, I miscarried at 10 weeks. The final blow landed clean and cold. I didn't realize I was crying until she reached for my hand. And I jerked away. You should have told me. I whispered. I had the right to know. I know, she said. I've lived every day with that guilt. But if it meant you'd be safe, I would do it again. That made my chest ache in ways I wasn't ready for. How do you stay mad at someone who chose your life over their happiness? But how do you forgive someone who took away your future without giving you a choice? I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized how broken we both were, and how much still hung between us. Not just old love or grief, but something unfinished. Something still hiding in the silence. I don't know if I can forgive you, I said honestly. I'm not asking you to, she replied. I just need you to know the truth. We sat there in heavy quiet. The leaves rustled. A siren wailed far in the distance. Then Emily stood. There's more, she said, almost to herself. But I think you need time. And just like before, she turned and walked away. But this time, she left a photo behind. Not the sonogram. A new one. A little boy. Big brown eyes. And my last name. I stood outside the courthouse, hands trembling as I held the custody papers. It felt like the sky should have broken open, like thunder should have crashed down, because what I was about to do felt impossible. But it was the only thing I had left. I wanted my daughter. For years, I'd watched from a distance. I stayed away because I thought it was best for Lily. Emily made it clear she didn't want me involved, and back then, I believed her. I believed I wasn't ready. But that little girl, she has my eyes, my laugh, and she deserves to know where she came from. She deserves to know her father fought for her. I walked into Emily's apartment that morning, papers in hand. She opened the door with tired eyes, like she already knew. I don't think I'd ever seen her look so fragile. Still beautiful, still strong, but fragile in a way only fear could make someone. "Ryan, don't," she whispered, her voice cracking before I even said a word. "I'm filing for custody, Emily. I've thought about this for months. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to tell you I'm not going away anymore." Her knees buckled, and she grabbed the edge of the door to steady herself. I stepped in without waiting. We were past politeness now. "You can't do this," she said. "You don't understand." I raised her. I held her through every fever, every nightmare. "She doesn't know you. You're just the guy who brings her cookies sometimes." I didn't flinch. "Then let me be more than that. Let me earn her trust, her love. She's mine too, Emily." She broke down right there, sobbing like I'd just stolen her heart from her chest. And maybe I had, but part of me wondered, hadn't she stolen mine first when she took Lily away? "You think you're doing this for her, but you're not," she snapped, wiping her tears with the back of her hand. "You're doing this for you, because you feel guilty, because your life's empty now. Don't use Lily to fill that void, Ryan." Her words stung, because they weren't entirely wrong. But they weren't right either. I didn't want Lily to fix me. I wanted her to know me. That same day, I filed papers. And then the war began. Lawyers, court dates, mediation sessions that ended with slammed doors and bitter silence. Every conversation turned into a minefield. Every glance between Emily and me was laced with resentment and regret. I never wanted to hurt her, but I couldn't let her pain keep Lily from knowing who I was. The worst part wasn't the legal fights. It was Lily, the confusion in her tiny face. The day she asked Emily, "Why can't Ryan come to my birthday?" Emily didn't have an answer, and neither did I. I stopped by once, just to drop off a gift for Lily, a purple unicorn backpack she pointed out months ago. I didn't even make it to the porch. Emily met me halfway down the walk. "Please," she said, her voice barely more than a breath, "don't confuse her more than she already is. She calls you her friend. Let her keep that memory clean. She'll know the truth one day." I told her quietly. Emily nodded. "Yes, and when that day comes, I hope she forgives both of us." As I drove away, I saw Lily through the window, hugging the backpack like it was made of gold. My heart twisted. I wasn't trying to take her away from Emily. I just wanted to be part of her world, even if it meant tearing mine apart. The next court date was set. I didn't know how it would end, but I knew this was only the beginning. I never thought the sound of a wooden gavel could silence my heartbeat. But that morning, in courtroom 3B, everything stopped. The walls felt too white, too clean, like they didn't know the filth of what we were about to drag into the open. I sat at my table, my lawyer whispering things I barely heard. My hands were ice, my stomach a knot. Then she walked in. Emily. Her steps weren't loud, but I felt everyone like thunder. She didn't look at me. Not once. She kept her eyes on the floor like she was carrying the weight of something even heavier than our broken past. I didn't expect her to speak. She hadn't said a word to me outside of what the lawyers forced. We were barely even parents in the same sentence, let alone people who once swore they'd love each other forever. But then her lawyer stood, cleared his throat, said 4 words I'll never forget. "Your Honor, she's ready." And Emily, she stood up. Emily on the stand. I didn't want to do this, but I have to, for our daughter. Her voice cracked, raw, real. Not the strong, perfect woman I once knew. This was someone stripped bare. She pulled a folder from her purse, her hands trembling as she passed it to the bailiff. The judge opened it. Photos, police reports, screenshots, text messages. One by one, they projected them onto the courtroom screen. The bruises on her arms, the cracked phone screen, the emergency room wristband. My chest caved in. I couldn't breathe. Emily, softly. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't press charges. I didn't want Ryan to lose his job. I didn't want our daughter to grow up thinking her dad was a monster. She wiped her eyes, not crying, but close. The kind of tears that don't fall, they just burn. I made excuses for him. Told myself he was just under pressure. That I could fix it. That love meant protecting someone, even when they were hurting you. I felt every stare in the room turn to me, like I was on fire. I wanted to scream that I never laid a hand on her like that she had it all wrong, that those pictures didn't tell the whole story. But what story could I tell that wouldn't make me the villain? My lawyer whispered, stay calm. But how do you stay calm when your entire life is unraveling in front of strangers? Emily wasn't done. She read out the texts I sent in anger, the ones I thought I deleted, the ones I'd sent at 2 a.m. when I thought she was seeing someone else, when I was spiraling and didn't know how to stop. I barely recognized the words coming out her mouth. You said if I left, you'd take her, that I'd never see her again, she said, her voice tight. I believed you. She looked right at me then, finally, and her eyes weren't angry. They were tired. I never wanted to take her from you, Ryan. I just wanted to survive. The silence was so loud, it felt like it was screaming. Even the judge leaned back like she needed to catch her breath. Then, slowly she spoke. Given the emotional complexity and the lack of a formal restraining order, I am ruling in favor of joint custody. For now. There was a buzzing in my ears. My legs almost gave out when I stood. Joint custody. I should have been relieved. But all I felt was shame. Not because I lost full custody, but because I'd lost her, and maybe I was finally realizing why. Emily stepped off the stand, and as she passed me, she whispered so only I could hear. I didn't do this to destroy you. I did it to save myself. And just like that, she was gone. The bailiff called for a recess. I sat there alone, the judge's words echoing in my head. For now, just 2 words. But I knew what they meant. This wasn't over. And next time, the truth might hurt even more. The first time I stood on Emily's porch again, holding Lily's favorite stuffed giraffe in one hand and a grocery bag in the other, my heart pounded like I was about to face a judge and jury. Emily opened the door slowly. She looked tired. Not the kind of tired you get from staying up too late, but the kind that sinks into your bones over years of doing everything alone. Hey, I said softly. Hey, she replied, eyes flickering to the giraffe. She's been looking for that. I nodded. I figured. We stood in silence for a second too long. Then I stepped inside. The air between us felt tight. Heavy, not angry, but unfamiliar. Like trying to find your way through a house that used to feel like home, but now every wall is painted a different color. Lily was on the couch, knees tucked to her chest, watching cartoons. She looked up, and her face lit up just for a second. Then it changed. Confused. Careful. Hi, Lily, I said, kneeling beside her. I brought Jeffrey back. She reached for the giraffe slowly, as if checking to see if this was a trick. When her little fingers wrapped around it, she clutched it close and didn't say a word. Emily sat down across from us, her hands curled tight in her lap. I could tell she was watching every move. Like a referee in a game neither of us really knew the rules to. I took a breath. I was thinking, maybe I could take her to the park this afternoon, just for an hour or so, if that's okay with you. Lily turned to Emily, waiting for her nod. Emily gave a quiet sure, like it cost her something to say it. And just like that, we started co-parenting. Awkwardly. Over the next few weeks, our new routine formed, but it wasn't smooth. I'd show up with snacks Lily didn't like. I forgot the brand of toothpaste she used. Once, I brushed her hair the wrong way and she cried, because Mommy doesn't do it like that. I felt like I was walking on eggshells made of memories I wasn't there to make, but I kept showing up. Every day I was there, sometimes for pickup, sometimes for dinner, sometimes just to read her a story while Emily took a break. We were learning each other, me and Lily, and me and Emily, too. One night, after Lily fell asleep halfway through the Velveteen Rabbit, I walked back to the kitchen, where Emily was sipping tea in the dim light. She asked me something today. I said, Emily looked up. She asked why I wasn't there when she was born. Emily's face tightened. What did you say? I sighed. I told her the truth, that I didn't know she existed until recently, that if I had known, I would have been there every second. Emily stared into her mug. She doesn't understand yet. I don't think I do either, I admitted. Why didn't you tell me, Emily? Her eyes finally met mine. There was no anger, just a tired kind of sadness, because I was scared, and because I loved you, and I didn't want Lily to grow up with the kind of love that came with conditions. Her words hit like a punch I didn't see coming. I opened my mouth, then closed it. What could I say to that? We sat in silence again, but this time it didn't feel so heavy. The strange thing was, somewhere in that awkwardness, something else started to surface. It was subtle, a glance that lingered too long, a moment where our hands brushed as we reached for the same plate, a memory we both laughed at, even when we tried not to. There was still chemistry, like static clinging to the edge of something that used to be electric, but it was wrapped in years of silence, resentment, pain. I saw it in her eyes. She felt it too, but neither of us moved. Neither of us dared touch the past. Until one evening, after Lily had gone to sleep and the house was quiet except for the sound from the fridge, Emily turned to me. She said, "You make her feel safe," she whispered. I looked up, surprised. She did. She nodded. It's the first time she said that about anyone besides me. That moment, that small moment, it cracked something open. Not completely. Not yet, but enough for a light to get in. End scene with a hook. The next day, Lily drew a picture of all three of us holding hands. Underneath, she wrote one sentence in crooked purple crayon. My family. Emily didn't say anything when she saw it. She just stared at it for a long time. And I wondered if maybe, just maybe, that picture wasn't just a child's wish, but a second chance. A second chance we might not be ready for, but one that was already finding its way back to us. I stared at the envelope in Emily's trembling hands, the edges slightly worn, as if it had been clutched too many times. She had been quiet for a while, her eyes glued to the letter, as if she couldn't bring herself to let go of it. I noticed the familiar scrawl of her handwriting, the delicate loops of her letters. It felt like it belonged to a different life, a time when everything was still possible between us. Ryan. Emily's voice was barely above a whisper, strained and fragile. This is for you. I should have given this to you long ago. I didn't know what to say. I hadn't expected this. My chest tightened, but I couldn't look away from the letter, as if it held the answers to all the questions I had been asking myself for years. The silence between us stretched on, heavy, as I reached out to take the letter. My fingers brushed against hers, and for a brief moment, I felt the faintest spark of the warmth I once knew. But it was fleeting, like the memory of a dream that vanishes when you wake up. I unfolded the paper slowly, the weight of it pressing down on my soul. The letter was old, but her words felt alive, pulsing with emotions I didn't understand then, but I did now. Ryan. I read aloud, my voice cracking as I said her name, the name that had once held so much meaning but now felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else. If you're reading this, it means I never had the courage to tell you these things face to face. And I hate myself for that. I always thought I had more time. I thought I could fix things, make it right. But time never waited for us. And now, I don't know if it's too late for you to understand. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Emily, my Emily, the woman I thought I knew better than anyone, had been hiding this from me. I had no idea she was carrying such a burden, one she had never shared. Not even once. I love you, Ryan. I always have. From the first moment I saw you, I knew you were for me. But love is complicated. It's not just about passion or easy moments. Sometimes it's about sacrifice, about choosing the things that matter, even when it hurts. I paused, my heart hammering. Emily had always been the one who wore her heart on her sleeve. So why hadn't she ever shown me this side of her? Why hadn't I known? I was terrified, Ryan. Terrified of what would happen if I told you the truth. If I told you how much I was giving up just to be with you. how much of myself I was losing in the process. I didn't want to burden you. I didn't want to be the one who kept you from your dreams. And yet I am. You were always meant for more than me. The words stung deeper than I thought possible. What did she mean? Was she saying I was never supposed to be with her? That all this time, everything between us had been a lie? I've spent years trying to convince myself that this was the right thing, that you would understand, that you would forgive me when you found out. But I don't know if you ever will. I don't know if I can forgive myself. I couldn't give you everything you needed. I couldn't be the woman you deserved. So I walked away. I made that choice, and I thought it would be better for both of us. But every day, every moment without you, I regretted it. Tears blurred my vision. The words on the page began to twist, the ink smearing into something indistinguishable. My heart ached for the pain she must have felt, the loneliness she must have endured. And for the first time, I realized how little I had known of her struggles. Please understand, Ryan. I wanted to be the one to make you happy. I wanted us to build a life together. But I was too afraid of what I would have to give up, what I might lose in the process. And in the end, I lost everything. I lost you. I let the letter fall from my hands, trembling as it fluttered to the ground. My entire world was spinning, crashing down around me. The woman I had loved, who I still loved, had carried this weight for so long, and I never even knew. I looked at her, my voice barely a whisper. Emily, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you trust me with this? Her eyes met mine, brimming with tears. I didn't want to hurt you, Ryan. I didn't want you to think it was your fault. It wasn't. It never was. But the realization hit me like a wave. There were so many things I didn't understand, so many things she had kept from me. And yet, the question lingered in my mind, heavier than the weight of her confession. What now? What happens after all this pain? I felt a strange kind of peace settle over me, but it was overshadowed by the raw, jagged edges of our past, and I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't the end of our story. It couldn't be. But was it possible to heal from all this? Was there even a chance for us anymore? I wasn't sure. But one thing was for certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. It's funny how life throws you curveballs when you least expect them. I was standing in our living room, staring at Emily's phone, as the words on the screen burned into my mind. The job offer was real. The kind of opportunity that doesn't come around often. An entire new life in a different state, with a company that could set her up for the future she deserved. But there was a catch, of course. The catch that always gets you. Lily was in the kitchen, her giggles echoing through the house, unaware of the storm brewing just a few feet away. She always had that innocent way of looking at the world, like nothing bad could touch her. It was one of the things that made me fall in love with Emily, the way she had this spark of joy, even on the hardest days. But now, as I watched Emily scroll through the job details, I knew something was shifting. I could see it in her eyes. The doubt, the hesitation. I don't know if I should take it, Emily said softly, more to herself than to me. I knew what she meant. The job, the future, the opportunity. It all came with a price. The price of leaving everything behind, including us. But how could I ever ask her to choose me over her dreams? I couldn't be that selfish, could I? I walked over, trying to breathe through the tightness in my chest. I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You don't have to decide right now. We can figure something out. We'll find a way to make it work. I know we will. She didn't look at me, her eyes fixed on the phone screen as though it held all the answers. Ryan, it's not that simple, she replied, her voice tight. This could change everything. For me, for Lily, for us. I stepped closer, my hand reaching out to touch hers, a silent plea. You can't just walk away from everything we've built here. We've got a life together. Emily, you've got a life here, a life that matters. Her head turned slowly, and for the first time in days, she met my eyes. There was something in her gaze, something broken, like she was already slipping away, but still holding on just enough to look me in the eye. I've been thinking a lot about it, Ryan, she said quietly. Maybe it's time for a change, a fresh start. For Lily, too. I swallowed hard. The thought of her taking Lily and leaving Leaving me behind was unbearable. I couldn't picture my days without her laughter in the house, without Lily's bright eyes lighting up every room. I couldn't let go. Not now. Not like this. I closed my eyes for a moment, gathering my thoughts. You don't have to do this alone, Emily. You don't have to take Lily and go to some strange place to find happiness. We can be happy here. We can make it work. We've always made it work. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the pain in her eyes. She had been holding this inside for so long, and I was just now realizing how much of it was eating her alive. It wasn't just about the job offer. It was about something deeper, something that neither of us had been brave enough to face until now. Her voice cracked as she spoke again. Ryan, would you still marry me today? The question hit me like a freight train, and for a moment I couldn't breathe. My mind raced, but my chest felt heavy, like the weight of the world was suddenly pressing down on me. Emily, my Emily, was standing there, asking me a question I never thought I'd hear. The silence between us grew thick and suffocating, and I could feel my heart pounding in my ears. I wanted to answer her. I wanted to tell her that of course I would. I wanted to tell her that I'd do anything to keep her here, with me, with us, but the words wouldn't come. I wasn't sure what she was really asking. Was she asking for a promise? Or was she already asking me to let her go? And could I do that? Could I really let her leave, even if it meant she'd be better off? The silence stretched on, each passing second more painful than the last. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. I had no answers. Not yet. She turned away first, her fingers gripping the edge of the counter, like she was holding herself together. I guess we both know the answer. And just like that, I felt her slipping away. It wasn't just about the job offer anymore. It was about something bigger. The fear that we had already lost each other long before this moment. The room felt colder now, emptier. I stood there, unable to speak, watching her walk away without a second glance. And for the first time in my life, I realized that maybe the hardest choice wasn't hers to make after all. But would it be too late for me to find the words? To make her stay? For oh, Minnie, the air at the airport felt colder than it should have, as though it could sense the weight of what I was about to do. I didn't want to be here. I didn't want to watch Lily leave. But I knew this was something I had to do. Something she had to do. The moment I stepped into the terminal, I spotted her. Lily was standing by the security check, her eyes scanning the crowd, her shoulders stiff with determination. I wanted to run to her, to pull her close, tell her everything would be okay. But I knew better than to make this harder than it already was. I had to let her go, even if it felt like I was losing the very thing that made me feel whole. She looked up and caught my gaze. I could see the surprise flicker in her eyes before it was replaced by something else. Something guarded, something resigned. She had made up her mind. This was it, the moment I had dreaded for so long. Lily walked toward me, her footsteps slow, each one echoing in the empty space between us. As she reached me, I could see the quiet strength in her, the same strength I had always admired. But there was something else too, fear, uncertainty, maybe even sadness. She was holding everything inside, just like I always had. I didn't think you'd show up, she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of that statement. I swallowed hard, trying to hold it together. I wasn't going to let you leave without saying goodbye. I replied, my voice cracking despite my best efforts. You deserve more than that. Lily didn't say anything for a moment. She just stared at me, her eyes searching mine, as if trying to figure out what I was really doing here, what I was really feeling. I couldn't hide it from her, though not anymore. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I handed it to her, my hand trembling slightly. This is for you, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. I want you to have it. Lily's brows furrowed as she took the box, the confusion clear on her face. She opened it, and her eyes softened when she saw the necklace inside, a delicate chain with a pendant that had both of our names engraved on it. Her name, my name, forever linked together, no matter the distance. Ryan, you shouldn't, she started, but I cut her off gently. No, I want you to have it, I said, my voice firm, even though the ache in my chest made it feel impossible to breathe. No matter where you go, you'll always have a home with me. You're always welcome back. Her eyes flickered with emotion, but she said nothing. I could tell she was struggling with the same things I was.